the things that we talked about on our trip back east to visit 3 schools, and we'll talk about them in a moment, is I think some of the decision-making process that Brady's going to need to go through in the next few months, and even up until his decision, so when he embarks next year, is this. These 7 points that we came up with, while they relate for Brady to college, I think they actually relate to decision-making. And if anyone out there is making decisions in life, in any aspect, whether it be relationships, in career, business, health, some of the decision-making process that we're going through with Brady, I think may help you as well. Special announcement. Pay attention, please. Huge breaking news out of the Todd Durkin Impact Show headquarters here in San Diego. I just announced the biggest and best retreat of all time is coming up this October, called the Shift Retreat. October 20th to the 23rd. If you are ready for a major shift in your life, in your business, in your career, in your relationships, in your health, in your mindset, you're going to want to be one of the 100 people or so in the room. We only have a limited number of seats, and podcast listeners, today is the day to take a look at the Shift Retreat. When you go to todddurkin.com, click on the button for the Shift Retreat, you'll get all of the information so that you can sign up and be one of the lucky ones in the room. I talk about all the time how important it is to be in the room. When you're live in the room, in person, magical things will happen. Take a look today and be part of my first Shift Retreat right here in beautiful San Diego, California, October 20th to the 23rd of 2022. So until next time, I want you to keep training hard, keep beating right, live inspired, and remember, keep shifting, because after all, shift happens. All right. Welcome to the Todd Durkin Impact Show. Am I super fired up today? Why, you ask? No, not just because I got my workout in, not because I got my routine in, but because I have a very special guest in the house today. My son, Brady Durkin, is in the house. Brady, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is like your, third time on, maybe?
Is it?
I think we had the Thanksgiving one where you and Luke, I had to almost separate you guys from being jokesters and like that. That was one. I feel like we had another family one back in the house.
It might be more than 3. I don't know.
Well, he's making his solo debut here on the Impact Show. And Brady's 17 years old. He's entering his senior year in high school. And I wanted to have Brady on today because we recently went on an East Coast trip to visit colleges. Yes. I can't believe he's already looking at college. Now, look, if you were watching this, you'd see the big smile on his face. But, man, are you excited or what?
It was great. It was a great trip. Loved it. And really excited for what's to come.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because I'm at an interesting time in my life, folks. If you've been following the Impact Show for any length of time, I've got one son in college in North Carolina. Brady's entering his senior year in high school. And that means right now is the time to do your trips, be looking at these schools. And I have another daughter, who's entering high school. I said she's entering high school. Yes, and I want time to slow down. Sometimes I find myself talking to Melanie like, man, I don't want to just, time is flying by. I don't want this to keep accelerating. But one of the things that we talked about on our trip back east to visit 3 schools, and we'll talk about them in a moment, is I think some of the decision-making process that Brady's going to need to go through in the next few months, and even up until his decision, so when he embarks next year, is this. These 7 points that we came up with, while they relate for Brady to college, I think they actually relate to decision-making. And if anyone out there is making decisions in life, in any aspect, whether it be relationships, in career, business, health, some of the decision-making process that we're going through with Brady, I think may help you as well. I hope that it makes you smile. I hope that it makes you reminisce about the good old days when you were either at school or looking at colleges. But we had the opportunity to go visit 3 schools. High Point University in High Point, North Carolina, Liberty University in Virginia, and then, of course, Elon, North Carolina, Elon University. Now, we've also looked at that school back in New Jersey. What was that school, that dream school of yours that you had way back in the day?
Something like Princeton University?
Princeton University. And I'm going to have to pull up the YouTube when Brady was like, I don't even know,
going into 6th grade?
Going into 6th grade, his dream. He did a video from the campus of Princeton declaring his intention to go to Princeton. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And also there's a school out here on the left coast called Chapman University that we saw as well in Orange, which is Orange County. So anyway, he's got some great choices so far that he's looking at, and I think there's 7 points that we'll talk about today. But before we get started on that, Brady, any final things before we go into our 7 points about this great time of life? You're at 17. What's it like to be 17?
Great. It's awesome. Not too much stress, not too much worry. Pretty exciting. Good times. It was great going on that trip. So then this senior year is going to be awesome.
You say not too much stress, not too much worry because it's summer. But normally when it's school time, you're like stressing out because you're staying up until midnight and you're studying for like a chemistry exam or.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm doing my work, but it's not like paying taxes, so it could be worse. I mean,
smart kid, smart 17-year-old. He's not paying taxes yet. How'd your summer been?
Great so far. A lot of PT after my shoulder surgery, and then just kind of doing whatever it takes to get back to where I was.
Well, many of the listeners today don't know that you had shoulder surgery. What did you have done to your shoulder?
Well, it started with 7 dislocations, and then my labrum was completely torn off the bone, so I had to get a joint repair and then reattach the labrum, and it was a 6-week sling. And then now I've got 6 months of PT coming up here, so we'll see what happens.
He says it so matter of fact. It was 7 dislocations. So those of you that have been following very closely, Brady, how did you do those 7 dislocations?
Well, the first one started with football, and then the second one was football, but then it kind of grew into different things like working out, dodgeball, lacrosse, looking in the mirror. It just kind of came out. It kind of grew into basically every aspect of my life.
Yeah, including one at midnight when I had to pop your shoulder back in.
Yeah.
Literally, Brady was screaming in the middle of the night at 12 midnight. He wasn't in bed yet because he was studying. I was sleeping, and that thing popped out. Next thing I know, it was either ER or Dad puts the shoulder back in.
Yeah.
We went with B. Dad put the shoulder back in. So Brady is doing a great job. So when he says he's relaxed, everything else, he's done a great job with the rehabilitation process. And I'm proud of you, Brady, for how you're attacking your rehab. Because those of you who are in pain or have been through surgery know that you have to attack physical therapy. But are you ready to talk about some of these college choices and decisions?
Oh yeah.
Are you maybe thinking about maybe at the end gonna declare where you're going, or we're not sure yet?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. I'll ask at the end. So stay tuned to this entire episode of Brady's college visits and maybe even potential decision. Point number 1 of the 7. I'll start with it, and we came up these together on this is hard work pays off, but you got to get boots on the ground to visit the places you may want to go. What does that mean to you? Hard work pays off, but you got to get boots on the ground.
Well, for me, I mean, since middle school, I've just been grinding for school. I've always been putting in the extra hours and doing whatever I can for my classes. So I really did put in a lot of work for school. So it was awesome to be at the campuses that I went to look at and see like that all came back.
Yeah.
And it really was like a boomerang. Like I felt it and it was cool. And I was saying that to you. I really noticed that everything that I put in was really just right in front of me.
Yeah. The first school we went to was High Point. You're like, this is so cool. And I said, yeah, this is cool because the hard work you put in for the last 4+ years, high school plus, you now have opportunities to go to good schools like the ones we mentioned. on that. And, as a student, and I'll brag for you because I know you won't brag, but Brady has a 4.2 GPA. Unlike, I would say, his brother, you work your tail off, right? Like you study hard. You're like me. Brady's a lot like me, where I had to work my tail off and stay up late. Where sometimes your brother may not always need to do that, but I think your hard work is certainly paying off. Would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, and boots on the ground. What does it mean to have boots on the ground? What does it mean to you, boots on the ground?
Well, you can look up any school and do the virtual tour and see all the programs and everything, but it really is different when you're actually there. Yep. And when I went there and when we went there, it truly, you could feel the difference. Like it was in the air.
Yeah.
There was something there for all these different schools, and it can definitely influence a decision.
Yeah. And when you visit a place, I don't care what it is, in this case, college, it feels different than online.
Yeah.
Right. The power of live is powerful. If you go to a live retreat, it's different than a virtual retreat. You go to a keynote, it's different virtually versus live. Same when you're visiting colleges. When you show up and you walk and you smell the flowers and you meet the people, it just feels different than what it was like on camera. And as we go into this, just so people know, as you look at these different colleges and we're touring around, do you think possibly what you may want to major in someday?
Yeah, I'm thinking film and media.
Okay.
I want to own a business, entertainment business, and I want to go into that field. And I really find film interesting because of the different ways of communication and how you can convey a message to different people. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was looking for with these schools, and all of them have a great program there established. And it was cool to see that for sure. That was always awesome for every school that we went and saw. But yeah, I'm thinking film and media.
Mm-hmm. Good. Number two, what I want to talk about, and you just related to it actually, is when you're making a decision here in college. Number two, I want to talk about is do your due diligence on a school or business or a company when making a decision. Preparation. What do I mean by that? You were, not only did you prep for your ACTs and SATs, everything else, but I said, hey, before we go, I want you to watch the videos on campus, and I want you to look at the programs. Are those programs available? How do you think that relates to you as far as doing your due diligence on a school before we went to those schools?
I mean, I was sitting in my room for a couple hours just looking at those online virtual tours, going through the programs that they have, everything. And then plus that, let's count the ACT and the hours put in school. I mean, I took 5 ACTs. I mean, I really did do a lot of work for that. So it was a lot. It was a lot of work going into it. Yep. But then when you were there, it's almost like it was still a new experience. Like it was all new, and it was such a cool experience because everything was just unlike anything I've ever seen.
What we're talking about here, number two, is preparation. You got to prepare. Prepare for your interview. Prepare when you're going to show up to a place live, an opportunity, you got to prepare. So when Brady walked onto campus, got his boots on the ground, he was prepared as we know how many students were there. We know what the average SAT and ACT score. I actually had him, how much does this school cost? Is it $25,000 or $75,000? Yeah, I said 75. Some of these colleges are $75,000 a year. Yeah, they're up there. What kind of programs do they have in cinematography or business or entrepreneurship or innovation? So I wanted him in his notebook, college notebook, to have all of these down. Look at him smiling. All of these down. So when we put the boots on the ground, he was prepared to ask the questions necessary in the tours or to the admissions counselors. Number 3. The power of first impressions. The power of first impressions. How, when you visited all of these schools, what were the impressions that you were left with?
They all had a significant first impression. The biggest takeaway was showing up to High Point, seeing that number 10 parking spot, getting out of the car, taking a picture in front of it. That was special. And then for all the other ones too, there was just different things, like just showing up on campus, seeing it, having that first experience of it. It kind of establishes that, do I see myself here for the next 4 years?
So Brady said that, as a matter of fact, as if but when we pulled up at High Point, we just happened to get parking spot number 10, which as you know, 10 is my number and our number. And it said, welcome Brady Durkin, San Diego, California. Guys, I don't know if you know, but 17-year-olds are greatly influenced by when they see their name on a board and this big grin and smile came across his face. Like, I was like, you want to just sign the dotted line right now? And he's like, no, not yet. We hadn't even been on campus for 3 minutes, but they did not know that my number was number 10. At Liberty, his first impression, we went to the gym. He's like, oh, I could go to Liberty. I'm like, Brady, you've only seen the gym. Sorry to admit, guys, but the gym was the first stop we made at Liberty. Rightfully so. And let me tell you what, Brady was ready, like, I'm ready to sign on a dotted line at Liberty after seeing this gym. Going to Elon, Brady was starving. We went to a restaurant. It was a great restaurant. He's like, man, I really like this place because of a restaurant, Brady. So it shows you we got to make sure we're prepared. Chapman was like going to Disneyland. As a matter of fact, it's only about 3 miles from Disneyland. It appears like fake, the 10,000 students that go there. It is an awesome school. First impressions, he was like, oh, I could be here. I could be working for Disney right up the street. And of course, Princeton. Oh, we didn't go to Princeton on this trip. Well, Princeton is Princeton.
It's just in the name.
It's pretty special. Think about this though. Power of first impressions. We're talking college. Have you ever walked into a store, a restaurant, a business, and within minutes you knew, did you want to do business there? Did you like that place? So the decision-making process is definitely impacted by the power of first impressions on that, which is number 3. Number 4, I had to put this in there because I made Brady do it as a dad. He had his notebook in the back of the car after every visit, the power of the plus and minus sheet. Brady, talk about that.
That was definitely a good idea by you. Definitely appreciated it.
Thank you. A little bit of wisdom.
Yeah. Coming back from those trips, it was hard to make some minuses. So it would take me a couple minutes. Like I would be like, oh, this is a pro, this is a pro, this is a pro, this is a pro. And then I'd be sitting there, pages full of pros. And I would have to go back and think of some minuses. But it was definitely important to look at the difference and see what are things that I would have to consider. And it's definitely going to influence my decision when I do have it and make it. We'll see what happens with those pros and cons and see how they truly influence how I'm thinking for the next couple of years.
Yeah. And so y'all are clear, Brady is going to school as a student, right? And not as an athlete. He's not playing football with his shoulder as it is. So he's making these decisions based on his academic merit and his what he's worked hard for in the classroom. And of course, obviously the sports, football, lacrosse, and all his extracurricular activities will help. Brady, do you remember any of the minuses on any of the schools? Not that you need to talk specifically about the school, but what were some examples of some minuses? Do you remember any?
I mean, it's more so the pros that I remember.
There were a lot of pros.
There were a lot of pros.
Yep.
The minuses, I mean, they were, I had to make up some minuses out of thin air. Not really.
Okay. So remember, we can only go to one school. So at some point we'll have to make the decision on that. Folks, the decision, when it comes to making a decision, the power of the plus and minus sheet, you probably do this now, but I remember even going way back, looking at decisions for my career of, was I going to go to massage school? I'm in massage school. I had a plus and minus of, do I go into teaching, coaching, physical therapy school, chiropractic school? Do I start my own business? The pluses and minuses, and how much do the pluses outweigh the minuses? If you are making a big decision or a small decision today, break out your notebook, put the pluses and minuses, and in the minuses, how big are the minuses? Because every decision, anything you do, any college or university you look at is going to have minuses. It's too close to home. It's too far away from home. The food is good. The food is not good. You can't have the perfect utopia. I don't think it exists, but you got to just see how does it outweigh the pluses and the minuses. All right, that brings us to our next point. Look for divine signs. What does that mean, Brady? Look for divine signs.
Well, at all these schools, there was a God thing there. And for me, that's going to be very important because I'm religious and I have a relationship with God. So I was looking for things like that, and it was very apparent. because for the first school high point, we had that admissions counselor meeting, and you know the story, but I can start it with, we're sitting there in the admissions counselor's office.
Tell the story. Listen in right now. This is a crazy story.
We're sitting in the admissions office, and
after the tour's over,
we were already wowed from the tour. The tour was awesome. We had already had the tent experience with the parking spot. So we're sitting in the admissions office just really, really happy with how everything's gone. And as our admissions counselor walked in, Mr. Travis, he was telling us about everything, and he asked about me, and I told him about my book, Quarantine, and he said, "Oh, no way, you wrote a book?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I wrote one too." I'm like, "Oh, no way, that's awesome." And he said, it's about overcoming adversity, coming back from whatever it is for athletes. I'm like, "Yeah, I had that with my shoulder,
overcoming injury." Yeah,
right. So I'm sitting there with my shoulder sling on, and I'm like, "Yeah, I had that. I'm not going to be able to play football this year, but I'm going to be just overcoming this adversity." And he's like, "Yeah, it sounds exactly like my second chapter about Drew Brees." And my jaw just goes, "Huh?" So then I'm just sitting there too stunned to speak, and I just kind of look over at you, and you lay back a little bit, and I'm like,
"This is going to be interesting.
Where's this going to go?" And then we break the news to him. "Yeah, I mean, we know the guy." And I mean, he got up out of his chair and he walked out of the room, and we were like, "Oh, is this over, or what's going on here?" And he comes back and he says, "I wasn't even supposed to be here today." Mm-hmm. And that itself was special. He wasn't supposed to be interviewing us. It was supposed to be someone else. He wrote a book. I wrote a book. He wrote a chapter, the second chapter, which is coincidentally my chapter in my book. It's just, there's so much parallels right there.
Yeah. Guys, it was a crazy, crazy story because Travis, who was in there, and Brady and him had a great rapport. When he shared the story of his book and the story of Drew, he's going off on this guy, Drew Brees, and I'm just sitting back and looking at Brady and Melanie, and we're laughing. And then when Travis found out that I had trained Drew for 20 plus years, he was stunned, and we took pictures and sent them to Drew and everything else. But he then revealed also that he went to Liberty undergrad and had nothing but great things to say about Liberty. Point is this: there's always these divine signs. And as Brady mentioned, he wasn't even supposed to be in there. The fact that out of his chapters in all his book, he happened to choose chapter 2 on Drew, share the story of Drew and his trainer, and there we were right there. It was, to me, one of those moments you're like, all right, is God trying to say something here? Is this a divine moment? I think there's divine moments in all aspects of life and day. But Brady, what you didn't say is the reason that came out is because you asked the right question. You asked Travis, what was your book about? Mm-hmm. Most people may not ask, oh, you wrote a book too? What was your book about? So when he started sharing that, it was because of the question. So guys, you got to ask the right questions. You could be in the room with someone and you're 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of separation, but you got to ask the right questions. So when you, Brady, asked him, so Travis, yes, I did write a book. And you wrote a book. What was your book about? Most people may not ask someone what their book's about in that situation on that. That allowed him to speak. That opened up a whole other world of that. So look for divine signs. Number 6 of 7 here. By the way, Brady, you're knocking it out of the park, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
We may have a co-host pretty soon in the house as Brady studies film and cinematography and everything else. I have this down. Money matters, but happiness drives decisions. Let me start with that, and then Brady can elaborate. Money matters, but happiness drives decisions. And the reason why that is because we looked at these schools, everything from Princeton, looking at Chapman and these schools back in the East Coast, and we're gonna look at a couple in Texas coming up. Is some of them are $25,000, $25,000. Some are $50,000, and some are $75,000. And let's say that your son, your daughter wants to go to a school that's $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. How do you make that happen without taking out a massive loan, right? I'm not a huge proponent of going into $300,000 of debt for college. But I also know this: when you work your tail off, as Brady and many other kids have, there's merit scholarships, there's work study programs, there's fellowships, there's different scholarships available. But this takes hard work. It takes proactivity. It takes years of hard work on that. So if you've got a son or daughter that's actually coming up now in middle school or just starting high school, know that 4 years of hard work does pay off. And as parents, y'all know this. You want to make your kids happy, but you also have to be smart. Like, you don't want to go into a crazy financial hole, but at the same time, you got to ask yourself this question: where is your kid going to thrive the most in life? Not just where's the best degree, but in life for the next 4 years, where you're going to have the best time. What's going to be the best environment, the most positive environment? What's going to lead to an eventual quote success, not maybe upon graduation, but maybe 5 years down the road? Where are you going to thrive in life? Where are you going to be most fulfilled in life? Where is that your son or your daughter going to become the best version of themselves? So to me, money does matter. Money matters, but happiness drives decisions. Brady, anything to elaborate on that? Because I don't know how you're going to afford $75,000 a year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Honestly, I mean, I'm hoping it's not coming out of my pocket.
Me too. I hope not, because then we'll be in deep trouble.
I think it's definitely just important. Well, obviously, I think I just need to go where I'm happy, but it's also on me to figure out ways to make it more affordable. Like with merit scholarships, it would just be on me to be of that merit. I need to have the right grades and have everything. And then having jobs in college, there's different jobs you can do there. That's on me to actually do it and show up and everything and apply for that.
Yep.
And then these weird scholarships, I need to be proactive and go out and get it. So it's just, there's a lot on my plate that can make it more affordable and easier. But then I just want to make sure that if it's the least expensive one or the most expensive one, it's wherever I am happiest.
Yep. Absolutely. And all you parents out there who have been saving in a 529 savings plan over the last 17 years, you're like, oh my gosh, the money I thought was going to be in there, it's now at about 30 or 40 or 50% less because of where the market's at these days. I've got to figure out how to get another $10, $20, $30,000 a year potentially for that. If you're in that realm where we are right now, that's something you got to figure out. Bottom line is this: it's that balance, back to the plus and minus sheet of the cost of an education versus also happiness, and where is your child going to thrive in life, not just academically, but in life as well. Point number 7, the last one. Brady, what is point number 7, and why is it important to you?
I've got to trust my gut. There's a gut feeling for all these schools, whether it's for me, whether I was supposed to see it and say, you know what, this isn't for me, rather than just see it online and kind of like it. There's going to be an actual feeling from me seeing all of them and just truly sitting and pondering about it. How do I like it? Do I see myself here?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, because I could have all these external voices saying, Brady, this place is awesome, this, but truly it's only me who's going to be going there. So I have to make sure that I'm happy with my decision as I'm making it.
Yeah. And when do you think you'll make that decision?
Later today.
Oh,
on the podcast.
Oh. So let me ask you this. Those of you, when you say trust your gut, why is it many times, you got in this situation, but let's take a job or a financial opportunity. You got a great school, great campus, great reputation, but then you go there, you get the boots on the ground, and it just doesn't feel right. It happened at one of the schools. It didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like I can see myself there. That's the gut feeling that Brady's talking about, is because a lot of times in life, everything adds up that you should make that move. But then it just doesn't feel right. Right? You could do a business plan and look at the numbers, and the numbers line, be like, yeah, you do it. But something doesn't feel right. That's the gut. And I do believe that you got to trust your gut, because your gut is your intuition. And if you are of faith in any way, I also think that's a way that God speaks to you, is through your intuition and through your gut of listening and tap into that as well. I don't think that any one school in this case is the perfect school. I don't think there is any one perfect school out there. I don't think there's a perfect perfect utopia. I don't think there's a one great career or industry or job that you're only made and cut up for this one opportunity. Matter of fact, I love the opportunity to try to recreate yourself on that. But it always goes beyond just the school. Which school offers the best academics, a faith-based program for you, Brady, a positive environment to thrive in life, great people, and then you trust your gut and great things happen. So 7 points today. I hope they help you. Maybe this is just a light and candid and fun conversation with my son Brady. But Brady, the big question is, you got Princeton, you got Chapman, you got Elon, you got Liberty, you got High Point, TCU, Baylor. Would you like to make a decision right now on the national platform? The Todd Durkin Impact Show, father to son. No one else will know. Just me and you. No one else will know. They're going to turn it off right now. As the decision's being told, they just say, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Would you like to make that decision?
Between me and you, Todd?
Just between me and you.
I would love to.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards.
Ooh, leaning towards.
Committing to.
Ooh.
What we're going to find out on the second podcast between you and I.
So you're saying that you're going to make a cameo appearance to make the big announcement.
I believe that there's no other way.
Folks, you heard it here first. On today's episode in August of 2022, Brady Durkin, as he embarks upon his senior year in high school, is not yet ready to make his college decision. He's got his 7 points. He's still checking his list, making sure everyone's nice. And I guess we're going to have a decision-making podcast. It might be short and sweet. I don't know. We may have to do some counseling in that session. But do you have any, because now you threw a major cliffhanger at everybody. Can we do any, when would this happen? Are we talking September? Are we talking November? Are we talking next April when lacrosse season's going on? When do you think we can plan the TD Impact Show podcast episode with the decision? Christmas Day? I mean, when is this going to happen?
Time will tell.
Okay, so we don't know. It's when the gut says.
The gut will tell me.
There you go. My friend, today on the show, you had 7 different points from our tours, our 7 lessons from Brady's college visits across the land. And I hope you had fun with that as much as I had fun with it. Brady, great job. I can't wait to have you on again. Guys, I might actually just be a kind of a sidekick on that show. Brady might actually just run the show. He might just host it, run it, make the decision, and then open up for Q&A that y'all have. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode, light, fun, putting the dad hat on, family style. Make sure you go share that with your friends. And if you're in the situation where you're making a big decision in life, in any aspect, not just because your son or your daughter might be going away to college. Remember this, we are in great times with our family. Capitalize on these visits, because I know that I loved having time on the plane, in the car, with Brady, with my wife, Melanie. We got to see Luke, who is just an hour away from some of these schools, which I know is a plus on that.
Definitely.
And as you embark upon your senior year in high school, let's make sure it's a great start to this semester. That's it, my friends. Have a great day. Remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, create impact, and make sure you tune in to the next episode with Brady Durkin when he announces his college decision. Brady, take us out. Any final points?
Well, I appreciate you for having me, and we'll see you on part 2.
Done.